The Korean Mafia boss's baby kept losing weight no matter what the doctors tried. Then a black waitress noticed the one detail everyone else missed. The neonatal ICU at Seattle Presbyterian Hospital hummed with the quiet urgency of machines keeping tiny lives tethered to the world. Tubes and monitors beeping in rhythms that meant survival or warned of collapse. In the far corner, behind glass that separated hope from despair, a Korean man sat motionless beside an incubator, so small it seemed impossible it could hold a human being. Choi Myung-jin was 28 years old, head of the most powerful Korean organized crime family in the Pacific Northwest, and for the first time in his life, completely powerless. He'd survived his father's brutal training, taken over the organization at 25 when the old man died, expanded operations across 3 states, commanded respect and fear from rivals and allies alike. None of it mattered now. Inside the incubator, his son, 3 weeks old, barely 3 pounds, getting smaller every day despite everything the doctors tried, fought for breath, each tiny gasp visible through translucent skin, ribs like bird bones rising and falling with exhausting effort. Mr. Choi, Dr. Patricia Morrison approached, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. She'd been the neonatologist on call when everything fell apart 3 weeks ago. "We need to talk about Minho's latest labs." Myung-jin didn't look away from his son. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Yoon-hee's face, his wife, his partner, the woman who'd softened his edges and made him believe he could be more than his father's legacy. Gone. Hemorrhaged out on a delivery table while he'd stood outside, helpless, listening to her die. "Tell me," he said, voice flat. "He's lost another 4 ounces. Down to 2 pounds, 13 ounces now. That's nearly 20% of his birth weight." Dr. Morrison's voice was gentle but firm. "Myung-jin, we've run every test. Metabolic panels, genetic screening, imaging, everything we can think of. We can't find the cause. He's not absorbing nutrition properly, but we don't know why. So find out why. We're trying, but at this rate..." She paused, choosing words carefully. "We need to prepare for the possibility that Minho might not..." "No!" Myung-jin's voice was steel. "Don't say it. Don't even think it. My son will survive. He has to. Because if he didn't, if Myung-jin lost both his wife and his child in the same month, there would be nothing left. Just an empty shell going through motions, running an empire he no longer cared about." Dr. Morrison placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're not giving up. But I want you to understand the severity. Minho is losing weight faster than we can compensate. If we don't figure this out soon..." She didn't need to finish. Myung-jin understood mortality intimately, had dealt it, witnessed it, survived it. But this was different. This was his son, his last piece of Yoon-hee. "Do whatever it takes," he said quietly. "Money is no object. Bring in specialists from anywhere in the world. Run every test again. I don't care what it costs. We will, I promise." Dr. Morrison squeezed his shoulder and left, and Myung-jin was alone again with machines and failing hope. He pressed his hand against the incubator's plastic wall, as close as he could get to touching his son without the sterile protocol that kept him at distance. "Fight," he whispered in Korean. "Please, Minho, keep fighting. I can't lose you too." The baby didn't respond, just kept breathing. Each breath a small miracle and a reminder of how fragile miracles were. Lena Hayes had worked at Jade Garden Cafe for 3 years, and in that time she learned to read the International District's rhythms. Who owned what? Who owed whom? Which businesses were fronts and which were legitimate? The cafe sat in that gray space, owned by the Choi family but run clean, a place where regular people could get good coffee without getting caught in crossfire. At 26, she'd made peace with her life. Mostly. Pre-med at UW had been her dream. 4 years of brutal studying, volunteering at hospitals, living on instant ramen, and ambition. She'd been top of her class, accepted to medical school, ready to become the doctor she'd always wanted to be. Then her mother got sick. Stage 4 breast cancer, aggressive, expensive. Medical school loans would have to wait. Mom needed treatment now, so Lena deferred admission, picked up every shift she could find, and watched her savings disappear into pays and experimental treatments. Mom survived. Lena's medical school spot didn't. By the time treatment ended and Mom was in remission, the deferment window had closed. Reapplying meant new applications, new MCAT scores, new fees she didn't have. The dream slipped away, replaced by the reality of student loan debt and bills that never stopped coming. 3 years later, she was still at the cafe, still telling herself it was temporary, still pretending she'd find a way back to medicine someday. "Lena, you got table 6? Marcus called from behind the counter. He was new, 17, still had that optimism that hadn't been beaten down by reality yet. "Yeah, I got it." She grabbed the coffee pot, made her rounds. Sunday afternoon meant the cafe was quiet. A few regulars, some students, nothing unusual. Until Jae Sung walked in. Lena recognized him immediately. Myung Jin's right hand, always impeccably dressed, always alert. But today he looked rough, exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. "Lena," he approached the counter directly. "Boss wanted me to come by. Give you this." He held out an envelope, thick, official, looking. "What is it?" She took it carefully, worried it was notice of closure or layoffs or something else terrible. "Bonus for the staff. Boss's way of saying thank you for keeping the cafe running while he's been dealing with things." Jae Sung's voice was heavy with something Lena couldn't quite identify. "He wanted to come personally, but he can't leave the hospital." "Hospital?" Lena's heart jumped. "Is he okay? What happened?" "It's not him. It's his son. And—" Jae Sung's composure cracked slightly. "His wife passed away 3 weeks ago. Complications during childbirth." The world tilted. Lena had seen Yoonhee occasionally. Beautiful, kind, always treating cafe staff like people instead of servants. She'd been pregnant, obviously, but healthy, glowing. How could she just be gone? "Oh my God. Jae Sung, I'm so sorry. Is there anything we can do?" "Just keep the cafe running. Give boss one less thing to worry about." He paused. "The baby's in NICU, critical condition, losing weight, and the doctors can't figure out why. He's barely holding it together." Lena's medical training kicked in automatically. "What kind of weight loss? Percentage of birth weight? Time frame?" Jae Sung looked surprised. "I don't know exactly. Just that it's bad. Baby was small to begin with, and now he's getting smaller. They've run all kinds of tests, but nothing's showing up." "How premature was the birth?" 34 weeks, I think. Maybe 35. "Why?" "Just trying to understand." Lena's mind was racing through possibilities. Metabolic disorders, digestive issues, feeding problems. "Which hospital?" "Presbyterian, NICU on the 4th floor." "But Lena, you can't just show up. He's not seeing anyone. Won't leave the baby's side except for organization emergencies." "I won't intrude, She couldn't explain the pull, the need to help, to use the knowledge she'd spent 4 years acquiring and 3 years letting atrophy. "Tell him I'm thinking of him and the baby." Jae Sung nodded, studying her with new interest. "I'll tell him. And Lena, thank you for caring." He left and Lena stood holding the envelope, mind spinning with medical possibilities and the bone-deep certainty that she needed to do something. The rest of Lena's shift passed in distraction. She made coffee on autopilot, took orders without really hearing them, her thoughts miles away in a NICU she'd never seen. A baby losing weight despite medical intervention. Born premature. Mother died during delivery, which suggested complications, possible hemorrhaging, maybe emergency C-section. What had the doctors missed? "You okay?" Marcus asked as they closed up. "You've been weird all afternoon." "Just worried about someone." Lena wiped down the last table. "Marcus, what do you know about Myung Jin? About the Choi family?" "Not much. They own this place, obviously. Run protection and stuff in the international district. Boss is young for a crime boss. Late 20s, I think. People respect him, but he's fair. Not like his dad was." Marcus paused. "Why?" "His wife died in childbirth, and the baby's in critical condition." "Shit, that's awful." Marcus's expression shifted to genuine sympathy. "Is there anything we can do?" "I don't know. Maybe." But Lena couldn't stop thinking about it all through cleanup, all through her walk home, all through a sleepless night where she lay staring at her ceiling, running through differential diagnoses like she was still in medical school. Premature birth, failure to thrive, weight loss despite feeding. What could cause that? Metabolic disorder, but they'd have tested for that. Digestive malformation, but imaging would show it. Infection, but antibiotics would help. Cardiac issues, but monitors would catch it, unless it was something subtle. Something doctors weren't looking for because they were focused on the obvious answers. At 3 a.m., Lena gave up on sleep, grabbed her old medical textbooks, kept because she couldn't bear to sell them, and started reading. Neonatal care, premature infant complications, failure to thrive. And there in a chapter on feeding disorders in premature infants, she found a possibility everyone might have overlooked. Posterior tongue tie, ankyloglossia, a condition where the tissue connecting the tongue to the floor of the mouth was too tight, restricting movement. In adults, it caused speech problems. In infants, especially premature ones trying to feed, it could make proper latching and sucking nearly impossible. The baby could appear to be feeding, but not actually get enough nutrition, could tire quickly from the effort, could lose weight despite everyone's best efforts because he literally couldn't eat properly. And it was easy to miss, especially if doctors were looking for more complex explanations. A simple visual exam, looking under the tongue, would show it. But if no one thought to look, Lena grabbed her phone, then hesitated. She couldn't just call Myung-jin, didn't have his number, couldn't march into a NICU and demand to examine someone else's baby based on a hunch. But she also couldn't do nothing. By morning, she'd made her decision. Presbyterian Hospital's NICU had strict visiting protocols. Lena stood outside the fourth-floor security doors, heart pounding, trying to figure out how to get in without an invitation. Then Jae-sung appeared from inside, looking worse than yesterday. Clothes rumpled, eyes red-rimmed. He spotted Lena, and surprise flickered across his face. "Lena, what are you doing here?" "I need to see the baby. I know that sounds crazy, but I think I might know what's wrong." Jae-sung stared at her. "You're a waitress." "I'm a pre-med dropout with 4 years of medical training and a photographic memory for neonatal complications." The words came out fierce. "Jae-sung, I've been up all night thinking about this. I might be completely wrong, but if I'm right, if there's even a chance I'm right, don't you think Myung-jin deserves to know?" Something shifted in Jae-sung's expression. Desperation, maybe, or the kind of hope that came from watching someone you cared about slowly break apart. "He won't see you. He's barely speaking to anyone except doctors." "Then take me to the doctors. Let me explain my theory to them. If they think it's worth pursuing, great. If not, I'll leave and never bother you again." Jae-sung studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Come on, but if boss kicks you out, you're on your own." The NICU was quieter than Lena expected. All the noise mechanical, monitors beeping, ventilators hissing. Jae-sung led her to a corner unit behind glass, and there was Myung-jin. Lena had seen him before, of course. The cafe was his property, and he'd visited occasionally, but always from a distance, always surrounded by his men, always moving with the dangerous grace of someone comfortable with violence. This man looked shattered. He sat slumped in a chair too small for his frame, one hand pressed against the incubator, looking at the tiny baby inside like he could will him to survive through sheer force of love. The baby, Min-ho, was impossibly small, smaller than Lena had imagined, all translucent skin and delicate bones, hooked to so many machines it seemed impossible he was even human. "Boss," Jae-sung said softly, "someone's here to see you." Myung-jin didn't look up. "Tell them to leave. I'm not taking visitors." "It's Lena from the cafe. She thinks she might know what's wrong with Min-ho." That got his attention. Myung-jin's head snapped up, eyes finding Lena. Dark, exhausted, holding on to control by a thread. "What?" Lena moved closer, fighting nervousness. "Mr. Choi, I'm sorry to intrude. I know this is a terrible time, but I heard about Min-ho's condition, and I've been thinking about possible causes." "You're a waitress." His voice was flat, dismissive. "What could you possibly know about my son's medical condition?" "I'm a pre-med dropout," Lena said firmly. 4 years at UW, top of my class, specialized in pediatrics. I was 3 months from starting medical school when my mother got cancer. I deferred to help with treatment, and by the time she was better, my spot was gone. Myung-jin studied her with new intensity. So you're not a doctor? No, but I know enough to recognize patterns doctors might miss when they're looking for complex answers. And you think you found something the entire NICU staff missed? Skepticism edged his voice. That's arrogant. It's possible. Mr. Choi, I read about Min-ho's symptoms. Rapid weight loss, failure to thrive despite feeding attempts. Have the doctors checked for posterior tongue tie? Silence. Myung-jin blinked. What? Ankyloglossia, the lingual frenulum, the tissue under the tongue, is too tight, restricting tongue movement. It's common in premature infants, but easy to miss because everyone's looking for metabolic disorders or digestive issues. Lena's words came faster, urgency driving her. But if Min-ho can't move his tongue properly, he can't latch correctly, can't suck efficiently. Feeding becomes exhausting, and he's not getting enough nutrition despite everyone's efforts. Myung-jin stood slowly. No one's mentioned that. Because it's simple, and when a baby's critical, doctors look for complicated answers first. But sometimes the answer is simple, just hidden. How would we know? If you're right? Visual examination. Lift his tongue, look at the frenulum. If it's too tight, it'll be obvious. And if that's the problem, the fix is straightforward. A frenotomy. Simple procedure, takes minutes, immediate improvement in feeding. Hope flickered in Myung-jin's eyes, dangerous and desperate. And if you're wrong, then I've wasted 5 minutes and you're no worse off than you are now. Lena met his gaze steadily. But if I'm right, Mr. Choi, if this is what everyone missed, Min-ho could start gaining weight immediately. Myung-jin turned to Jae-sung. Get Dr. Morrison. Now! Dr. Morrison arrived within minutes, looking wary when she saw Lena. Mr. Choi, who is this? Someone who thinks you've all missed something obvious. Myung-jin's voice was steel. Tell her your theory. Lena repeated everything. The symptoms, the possibility of tongue tie, the simple examination needed to check. Dr. Morrison listened with growing interest, skepticism shifting to consideration. Posterior tongue tie, she said slowly. We did a general oral exam when he was born, but we weren't specifically looking for frenulum restriction. And honestly, with everything else going on, can you check? Now? Myung-jin's desperation was palpable. Yes, let me get the equipment. Dr. Morrison disappeared, returned with a nurse and tools. They opened the incubator carefully, and Lena's breath caught as she got her first close look at Min-ho. So tiny, so fragile, fighting for every breath. Dr. Morrison lifted the baby's tongue gently, examining the underside. Her expression changed immediately. Oh my God! What? Myung-jin was at the incubator in an instant. What do you see? Severe posterior tongue tie. Class 4. The frenulum is incredibly tight. I can't believe we missed this. Dr. Morrison's voice was equal parts relief and frustration. This absolutely would prevent effective feeding. Lena, you were right. The room seemed to hold its breath. Can you fix it? Myung-jin's voice shook. Yes, frenotomy. We'll clip the frenulum, release the restriction. It's a simple procedure, barely takes 5 minutes, and the improvement is usually immediate. Dr. Morrison was already moving, organizing. I want to do it now. Get his feeding sorted before he loses any more weight. 20 minutes later, with Myung-jin watching through the glass and Lena standing beside him in stunned silence, Dr. Morrison performed the procedure. A tiny cut, barely any bleeding, over before Min-ho could even process what had happened. Now we wait, Dr. Morrison said, placing Min-ho back in the incubator. He'll need recovery time, but we should see improvement in feeding within hours. If this was the primary issue, and I believe it was, his weight should stabilize and start increasing within a day or two. Myung-jin stood frozen, staring at his son. Then, without warning, he turned and pulled Lena into his arms. The hug was desperate, fierce, shaking with emotion he couldn't contain. Thank you, he whispered in Korean, then English. Thank you. You saved him. You saved my son. Lena's eyes burned with tears. I had a hunch. The doctors did the work. They missed it. You didn't. Myung-jin pulled back, hands on her shoulders, eyes blazing with intensity. Lena, I don't even know you. I've seen you at the cafe maybe 3 times. Never paid attention. Never thought about the people working there beyond making sure you're paid. And you came here on your own time with no obligation, and you saved my son's life. Anyone with medical training would have done the same? No, they wouldn't, because you're not just trained. You care. You cared enough to lose sleep thinking about a baby you'd never met, to research possibilities, to come here and risk looking foolish? His voice broke. I lost my wife 3 weeks ago. And if I'd lost Minho too, if I'd had to bury my son because everyone missed something simple, I don't know what I would have become. Something dead inside. Tears streamed down Lena's face. I'm so sorry. About your wife. About everything you've been through. You gave me hope. After 3 weeks of darkness, you walked in here and gave me my son back. Myung-jin's hands were still on her shoulders, grounding intense. I owe you everything. Name it. Anything you want. It's yours. I don't want anything. I'm just glad Minho's going to be okay. Lena, really, this isn't about payment. This is about helping a child who needed it. She smiled through tears. Just take care of him. Love him enough for both parents. That's all I want. Myung-jin studied her face like he was memorizing it. You're extraordinary, you know that? I'm really not. I'm just someone who remembered enough medical school to make a lucky guess. It wasn't luck. It was knowledge and compassion and courage. He released her shoulders reluctantly. Will you stay? Just for a bit? I'd like company that isn't hovering medical staff or my security team. Lena knew she should leave. This wasn't her world. This wasn't her place. But something in Myung-jin's eyes, exhaustion and gratitude and bone-deep loneliness, made her nod. Okay, I'll stay. They sat together in the NICU waiting room. Myung-jin freshly showered and in clean clothes Jae-sung had brought. Lena with terrible coffee from the hospital cafeteria, both watching the clock until the next feeding time. Tell me about her, Lena said quietly. Your wife, if you want to. Myung-jin was silent for so long Lena thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Yoon-hee. We met 5 years ago at a charity event, my mother's foundation, supporting immigrant families. She was volunteering, organizing donations, and I was there because Mother insisted. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. She had no idea who I was, treated me like any other volunteer, put me to work sorting canned goods. I was the head of a criminal organization, and she had me alphabetizing soup cans. Lena laughed softly. Sounds like she kept you humble. She kept me human, reminded me there was more to life than business and territory and power. Myung-jin's voice grew heavy. She knew what I was, what my family did, hated it, but she loved me anyway. Said she saw who I could be, not just who I was. She sounds wonderful. She was, and she was so excited about Minho. Talked to him constantly when she was pregnant, made plans for his future. Wanted him to grow up normal, not in my world, not surrounded by violence. She made me promise I'd transition the business, go legitimate, give our son a different life. Tears tracked down Myung-jin's face. And then everything went wrong. The pregnancy had complications. Preeclampsia. She went into early labor at 34 weeks. They did an emergency C-section, got Minho out, but she hemorrhaged. They couldn't stop it. I'm so sorry. I held her hand while she died, told her Minho was beautiful, perfect, that she'd done amazing. She smiled and said, take care of our baby. And then she was gone. Myung-jin's voice broke. 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks, and I still can't believe she's not coming back. Lena reached over, took his hand. You're allowed to grieve, to be broken. You don't have to be strong all the time. If I'm not strong, everything falls apart. The organization, Minho's care, everything. Then be strong when you have to be, and let yourself break when you can, with people who won't judge you for it. Myung-jin looked at their joined hands. Why are you being so kind to me? You don't know me. For all you know, I'm exactly the monster my reputation suggests. Maybe, But monsters don't cry for their dead wives or sit vigil for dying babies. You're human, Myungjin. Complicated and probably dangerous, but human. Lena squeezed his hand. And right now, you need someone who sees that. They sat like that until the nurse came to tell them Minho was ready for his first post-procedure feeding. And when they went back to the NICU, when they saw the baby latch properly for the first time, drinking with none of the previous struggle, Myungjin broke down completely. Lena held him while he sobbed. This powerful man reduced to tears of relief and grief, and felt something shift in her chest. Something dangerous and warm and absolutely impossible. She was falling for him, for this broken, complicated man and his tiny son. And she had no idea what to do about it. Minho improved rapidly. Within 48 hours, he'd regained half the weight he'd lost. Within a week, he was off the ventilator. Within 2 weeks, doctors were talking about discharge. And through all of it, Lena visited. Every day after her cafe shift, she'd come to the NICU, check on Minho's progress, sit with Myungjin. Sometimes they talked about medicine, about his late wife, about Lena's abandoned medical dreams. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence. You should go back, Myungjin said one evening. They were in the NICU family room, watching Minho sleep through the glass. To medical school, finish what you started. Can't afford it. Student loans from undergrad are still crushing me, and mom's medical bills wiped out any savings. I'll pay for it. Lena looked at him sharply. What? Medical school. All of it. Tuition, living expenses, everything. You saved my son's life. It's the least I can do. Myungjin, that's insane. Medical school costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Millions, actually. Money is the one thing I have in excess. He turned to face her. Lena, you were meant to be a doctor. Anyone can see that. You light up when you talk about medicine, when you're examining Minho's progress. Don't let financial circumstances steal that from you. I can't take that kind of money from you. Why not? You saved my son. This is payment. I didn't do it for payment. I did it because it was right. I know. That's exactly why I want to do this. Myungjin's voice was earnest. Please, Lena, let me give you back your dream. You gave me back my son. It seems like a fair trade. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to maintain independence, to insist she'd figure it out on her own. But looking at Myungjin's face, at the genuine desire to help, to give back, she found herself wavering. I'll think about it, she said finally. But Myungjin, I'm not asking for anything in return, he interrupted gently, except maybe your continued friendship. I've gotten used to having you around. You make the darkness feel less suffocating. Heat flooded Lena's cheeks. You're just grateful. Once Minho's home and things settle down, this isn't gratitude, or maybe it started there, but it's become something else. Myungjin took her hand. Lena, I know the timing is terrible. I know I'm a widower with a newborn and a dangerous job, but these past 2 weeks getting to know you, you've become important to me, and I think I've become important to you too. You have, Lena admitted, heart racing, but Myungjin, your wife just died. You're grieving, and I'm a waitress you barely know. This is moving too fast. Then we'll slow down. We'll take whatever time you need. But Lena, don't walk away just because it's complicated. Complicated doesn't mean impossible. Doesn't it? You're a crime boss. I serve coffee. We live in completely different worlds. So we'll build a bridge between them. Together. He squeezed her hand. Just don't give up on this before we've even tried. Lena looked at their joined hands, at Minho sleeping peacefully beyond the glass, at the future stretching out uncertain and terrifying and full of possibility. Okay, she whispered. We'll try, but slowly and honestly. No secrets, no games. No secrets, Myungjin agreed. No games, just two people figuring out if something impossible might actually work. Minho came home 3 weeks after Lena's diagnosis. The penthouse Myungjin owned in downtown Seattle was transformed. Nursery professionally designed, night nurses hired, every piece of equipment state-of-the-art. Lena visited the day after discharge, ostensibly to check on Minho's feeding, really because she couldn't stay away. And when Myungjin answered the door with the baby in his arms, smiling tiredly, she knew she was in deep. The next 6 months passed in a blur of late-night feedings and pediatrician appointments and slowly deepening connection. Lena visited 3, then 4, then 5 times a week. Taught Myung Jin how to read Minho's cues, how to soothe him when he cried, how to celebrate every tiny milestone. And somewhere along the way, the visits stopped being about the baby and became about them. Long conversations after Minho slept, shared meals and inside jokes, Myung Jin telling stories about Yoon Hee without the crushing grief, remembering her with love instead of just pain. Lena went back to school. Myung Jin had insisted, paid everything over her protests, and she'd finally accepted because turning down her dream twice seemed like the universe's cruel joke. She studied between cafe shifts and baby visits, exhausted but happier than she'd been in years. "You're glowing," her mother said one Sunday when Lena visited. "Is there someone special?" "Maybe. It's complicated." "Complicated how?" He has a baby, and his wife died, and his job is questionable." Her mother raised an eyebrow. "Questionable how?" "Very questionable. But Mom, he's trying to change, going legitimate, and he's a good father. And when I'm with him, I feel alive." "Yes, alive, like I matter." "Then complicated might be worth it, as long as he treats you right and keeps you safe." "He does. He's protective without being controlling, supportive without being overbearing. And Mom, the way he looks at me..." Heat flooded Lena's cheeks. "Like you hung the moon?" "Like I'm the answer to questions he didn't know he had." Her mother smiled. "That's how your father looked at me. Treasure that, baby girl. Men who see you like that are rare." 9 months after saving Minho's life, Lena arrived at Myungjin's penthouse for their usual Wednesday evening visit to find him pacing nervously, the baby with a sitter. "What's wrong?" Worry spiked through her. "Is Minho okay?" "He's perfect. This is about us." Myungjin ran a hand through his hair. "Lena, I need to talk to you about something important." Her heart hammered. "Okay, what's going on?" "Minho said his first word yesterday." Joy flooded through Lena. "That's amazing. What did he say?" "Mama." Myungjin's eyes held hers. "He was looking at a picture of Yoon Hee, and he said, 'Mama.' And then today, when you walked in, he reached for you and said it again." Lena's breath caught. "Myungjin, he sees you as his mother. And I realized something. I've been telling myself we're taking this slow, being careful, not rushing anything. But Lena, you're already his mother in every way that matters. You've been here for midnight fevers and first smiles and every moment in between. He had a mother. Yoon Hee will always be his mother, the woman who gave him life." Myungjin moved closer. "But you're the woman who saved his life, who teaches him to eat and laugh and trust, who shows up every single day, not out of obligation, but out of love." Tears burned Lena's eyes. "I do love him so much." "I know. And Lena," Myungjin took both her hands, "I love you. I've been in love with you for months now, terrified to say it because of the timing, because of everything. But watching Minho call you mama made me realize, I don't want to waste more time being scared." Lena's world tilted. "You love me?" "Desperately, completely, in a way I didn't think was possible after losing you." His voice shook. "You're not her replacement. You're something entirely different. Your own kind of miracle. And I want to spend my life proving I'm worthy of you." "Myungjin, Before you answer, there's something I need to show you." He pulled her to the window, gestured to the city below. "I've been working on the transition. The legitimate businesses are profitable now. I've shut down most illegal operations, transferred the rest to trusted people who'll phase them out. In 6 months, maybe a year, I'll be completely clean. You're really doing it. For Minho, for myself, for you." He turned her to face him. "Lena Hayes, I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other 9 months. But I also know you're the person I want beside me for the rest of my life. You're the mother I want raising my son, the partner I want building a future with." He dropped to one knee, pulled out a small box. "Marry me. Be Minho's mother officially. Let me spend every day proving you made the right choice." Lena stared at the ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Her mind spun with 1,000 reasons to say no. It was too fast, too complicated. His wife had been dead less than a year, but her heart knew the truth. She loved this man, loved his son, wanted this future more than she'd wanted anything except medicine. And maybe this was medicine too, healing a family broken by loss, building something beautiful from tragedy. Yes, she whispered. God help me, yes. Myung-jin's smile was brilliant. He slipped the ring on her finger, stood, pulled her into his arms. Thank you for saying yes, for loving us, for being exactly who you are. I love you, Lena said, finally giving voice to feelings she'd been suppressing for months. I love you and Min Ho, and I'm terrified, but I'm also sure. This is right. It's right, he agreed and kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. They were married 3 months later in a small ceremony that honored both Yoon-hee's memory and their new beginning. Lena's mother cried. Min-ho wore a tiny tuxedo, and when Myung-jin said his vows, promising to love her, honor her, build a life worthy of her sacrifice, Lena knew she'd made the right choice. 1 year later, Dr. Lena Choi stood in the neonatal ward at Seattle Presbyterian, white coat crisp, stethoscope around her neck, reviewing charts with the same intensity she'd brought to everything in her life. Medical school had been brutal, compressed timeline, endless studying, balancing motherhood and marriage with the demands of becoming a doctor. But she'd done it. Graduated top of her class, matched to pediatrics, specifically neonatology. Dr. Choi, a nurse approached. We have a premature infant in distress, 28 weeks, failure to thrive, losing weight rapidly. Dr. Morrison requested you specifically. Lena's heart jumped. This was it, her first real case as an attending. Show me. The baby was tiny, struggling, parents devastated. Lena examined thoroughly, asked questions, reviewed every test. And there, subtle but present, she spotted it. Posterior tongue tie. The same condition that had nearly killed Minho. I think I know what's wrong, she told the parents gently, and explained just as she had a year and a half ago how something so simple could cause such devastating effects. The frenotomy took 5 minutes. The improvement was immediate. And watching the baby feed properly for the first time, seeing relief flood the parents' faces, Lena felt completion. This was her calling. This was what she was meant to do. You're a natural, Dr. Morrison said afterward. That instinct, spotting what everyone else missed, it's a gift. I learned from experience. Min-ho taught me to always check the simple things first. How is he, your son? Lena smiled. Perfect, healthy, hitting every milestone. He turns 2 next month. And your husband? I heard he's fully legitimate now. No more questionable business. Completely clean. Runs a property development company, invests in community programs. He's actually funding a free clinic in the International District for immigrant families. That's wonderful. You've built a beautiful life, Lena. I have. It wasn't the path I expected, but it's perfect. That evening, Lena came home to chaos. Min-ho had discovered how to climb onto the kitchen counter and was currently covered in flour, giggling hysterically, while Myung-jin tried to coax him down. Please don't tell me he's been like this all afternoon, Lena said, suppressing a laugh. Only since his nap. Before that, he decided the toilet was a perfect place to give his toys a bath. Myung-jin looked exhausted and happy. How was your first day? Amazing. Terrifying. I saved a baby today. Tongue-tied, just like Min-ho. Of course you did. You're brilliant. He managed to grab Min-ho, who immediately reached for Lena. Mama! Mama home! Lena took her son, because that's what he was, legally and in every way that mattered, and kissed his flour-covered face. Hi, baby. Did you have fun destroying the kitchen? Fun. Daddy funny. Daddy's always funny when he's covered in flour. She looked at Myung-jin over Min-ho's head. I love you, both of you. This messy, chaotic, perfect life. We love you too. Myung-jin pulled them both into his arms. More than words can say. Later, after Min-ho was bathed and fed and sleeping, they sat on the balcony watching the sunset over Puget Sound. Do you ever think about how we got here? Myung-jin asked. How a dying baby and a waitress with medical knowledge created all this? All the time. It seems impossible. But it happened. You walked into that NICU and changed everything. We both changed. You became legitimate. I became a doctor. We built something neither of us planned. Do you regret it? Any of it? Lena thought about the path not taken, staying at the cafe, never meeting Myung Jin, never knowing Min Ho. Not even a little. This is where I was always meant to be. With a reformed crime boss and his chaotic toddler? With my family, my love, my purpose. She leaned into him. Everything that matters. They sat in comfortable silence as the city lights began to glow, and somewhere inside, Min Ho murmured in his sleep. Their son, their miracle, the tiny life that had brought them together and changed everything. 2 years later, the Choi Foundation's new pediatric wing at Seattle Presbyterian Hospital opened to fanfare and genuine community gratitude. Funded entirely by Myung Jin's legitimate businesses, staffed by the best specialists money could hire, and directed by Dr. Lena Choi, it represented everything they'd built together. Speech! Speech! The crowd chanted as Lena stood at the podium, Myung Jin beside her, Min Ho, now 4, squirming in his father's arms. 4 years ago, Lena began, voice steady despite nerves, I walked into this hospital's NICU with nothing but a hunch and some abandoned medical training. I met a grieving father, a dying baby, and a possibility everyone else had missed. She looked at Myung Jin. That day changed my life. It gave me back my purpose, showed me that sometimes the simplest answers are the hardest to see, and introduced me to the family I didn't know I needed. This wing exists because we believe every child deserves the best possible care, regardless of their family's ability to pay. Because we know that sometimes all it takes is one person paying attention, one person caring enough to look deeper, to save a life. Min Ho is living proof of that. And every baby we help here will be proof that medicine isn't just about technology and procedures. It's about human beings caring for human beings. The crowd applauded and Lena stepped down into Myung Jin's free arm. I'm proud of you, he whispered, of this, of everything we've built. We did it together. Mama went cake, Min Ho demanded, and everyone laughed. Soon, baby, after the boring grown-up stuff. That evening, after the ceremonies and celebration, they returned home to find another surprise. Dr. Morrison had sent over medical records. A baby girl, premature, complicated case, parents desperate. They're asking for you specifically, Myung Jin said, reading the note. Word's gotten around about the doctor who sees what others miss. Lena studied the records, mind already analyzing, planning. I'll go in tomorrow, see what I can do. You're going to save her. I'm going to try. That's all anyone can ask. 5 years later, Dr. Lena Choi's office at the Choi Foundation Pediatric Wing was cluttered with medical journals, family photos, and thank you cards from grateful parents. 9 years of practice had made her one of the most respected neonatologists in the region. She was reviewing a particularly complex case when Min Ho, now 9, burst in, still in his soccer uniform. Mom, we won! 3-2, and I scored the winning goal. Lena pulled him into a hug, ignoring the grass stains and sweat. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Dad said we can get pizza to celebrate. Can you come, please? Of course. Let me just finish. Dr. Choi, her assistant, appeared in the doorway. The Chen baby just stabilized. Your intervention worked. Parents are asking to see you. Warmth flooded through her. Another life saved. Another family given hope. Tell them I'll be right there. She looked at Min Ho. Give me 10 minutes, okay? Then pizza with Dad. Okay, but Mom. His expression grew serious in that way that reminded her so much of Myung Jin. Thank you for being my mom. I know I had another mom before, but you're the one I remember, the one who's always been there. Tears burned Lena's eyes. Oh, baby, thank you for letting me be your mom. It's the greatest honor of my life. I love you. I love you too. So much. He ran off to find Myung Jin, and Lena sat for a moment, overwhelmed with gratitude. 9 years ago, she'd been a waitress with abandoned dreams. Now she was a doctor, a wife, a mother. She'd saved dozens of babies, built a program that helped hundreds more, created a life she'd never imagined possible, all because she'd paid attention. because she'd cared enough to look deeper, because she'd been brave enough to walk into a NICU and offer hope when everyone else had given up. Her phone buzzed. Myung Jin. Min Ho told me about the goal. I'm so proud. And I'm proud of you. Heard about the Chen baby. You're amazing. Love you. See you for pizza. Lena smiled, gathered her things, and headed to see the Chens, to deliver good news, to share in their relief and joy, to do what she was meant to do, save lives, build hope, make miracles happen one tiny patient at a time. 10 years after Minho's birth, the anniversary fell on a Sunday. Myungjin, Lena, and Minho visited Yoon, his grave together, as they did every year. Hi, Mom, Minho said, placing flowers on the headstone. He was 10 now, thoughtful and kind, with his father's intensity and his birth mother's gentle spirit. I'm in 5th grade now, still playing soccer, still getting good grades, and I wanted to tell you about my science project. He talked to the grave naturally, the way they taught him. Yoon-hee wasn't gone, just in a different form, still watching over him. Lena stood back, giving father and son their moment. Thank you, Myungjin said quietly, his arm around Lena's waist, for teaching him to honor her, for making sure he knows his story. She's part of him, part of you. I could never try to erase that. I know, it's one of the 1,000 reasons I love you. They stood together as Minho finished his one-sided conversation, then walked back to the car. On the drive home, Minho asked, Mom, tell me again about the day you saved my life. Lena glanced at Myungjin, who nodded encouragingly. Well, I was working at a cafe your dad owned, and one day his assistant came in and told me about you, how you were sick, getting smaller, and the doctors couldn't figure out why. And you knew what was wrong? I had an idea. Something the doctors hadn't checked because they were looking for complicated answers. And sometimes the answer is simple. You had something called a tongue tie. The tissue under your tongue was too tight, making it hard for you to eat. And that's why I was starving? Exactly, you were trying to eat, but you couldn't do it properly. So the doctors did a tiny procedure to fix it, and immediately you started getting better. And then you and Dad fell in love? Myungjin laughed. It took a bit longer than that. But yes, eventually. Because Mom saved me, and you were grateful? Because your mom is extraordinary, Myungjin corrected, and I was smart enough to recognize that. The gratitude came first, but the love, that was because of who she is, her kindness, her intelligence, her courage. I'm glad you married her, Minho said matter-of-factly. She's the best mom ever. Lena's eyes filled with tears. You're the best son ever. I know. His grin was pure mischief, so much like Myungjin's. Can we get ice cream? Yes, Myungjin and Lena said together, and Minho cheered. That night after Minho was asleep, Myungjin and Lena sat on their balcony, watching the city lights. Do you ever miss it? Lena asked. The old life? The power and danger? Never, not even once. Myungjin pulled her closer. That life was empty, built on violence and fear. This, you, Minho, the legitimate businesses, the foundation. This is real. This matters. No regrets? Only that I didn't meet you sooner. That Yoon-hee couldn't be here to see the man I've become. His voice caught. She'd be happy, I think. Knowing Minho has you. Knowing I found love again. She'd be proud of you, of the father you are, the man you've become. I hope so. He kissed Lena's temple. Thank you. For everything. For saving my son. For loving us. For building this beautiful life. Thank you for letting me. For seeing something worth saving in a waitress with abandoned dreams. You were never just a waitress. You were always a doctor. Just one who hadn't found her way back yet. And now you're exactly where you belong. Saving lives, raising our son, making miracles happen every day. They sat in comfortable silence, and Lena thought about the journey. From a cafe in the International District to a NICU where she'd spotted what doctors missed. From a grieving father and dying baby to a family built on love and second chances. It hadn't been easy. There had been challenges. Learning to mother a child who wasn't biologically hers, balancing medical school with family life, navigating the complex emotions of being a second wife. But they'd work through everything together. "I love you," Lena said simply, "more than I can ever express. I love you too, forever." And there, under the stars, with their son sleeping safely inside and a future full of possibility stretching before them, Lena knew she'd found exactly what she was meant for. Not just medicine, not just family, but the perfect combination of both. A life where she could heal bodies and hearts, where she could save lives and build love, where every day mattered. Because sometimes the greatest miracles came from the smallest observations. Sometimes saving one life saved many, and sometimes love found you in the most unexpected places. In a NICU where a waitress became a doctor, a crime boss became a legitimate businessman, and a dying baby became the center of a family built on hope. 15 years later, Lena Choi stood at a podium in Stockholm, accepting the Nobel Prize in Medicine for her groundbreaking work in neonatal care. Her research on early intervention for feeding disorders had saved countless lives worldwide. "I stand here today," she said to the gathered crowd, "because 25 years ago, a baby was dying and everyone had given up. But someone, me, in a moment of desperate hope, looked deeper, saw what others missed, and that tiny observation changed everything." Min-ho Choi is 25 years old now, healthy, thriving, studying to be a pediatrician himself. He exists because of a simple procedure that took 5 minutes. And every advancement in neonatal care since then has been built on that same principle. Pay attention, care deeply, never give up. In the audience, Myung-jin watched his wife with pride radiating from every pore. Beside him, Min-ho, now a medical student himself, grinned. "She's amazing," Min-ho whispered. "She always has been," Myung-jin replied. "I just got lucky enough to notice." After the ceremony, surrounded by congratulations and press, Lena found her family. Myung-jin pulled her into his arms. "Congratulations, Dr. Choi, Nobel Prize winner. How does it feel?" "Surreal, overwhelming, but also," she looked at Min-ho, then back at Myung-jin. "Also just right, like everything led to this moment. From a cafe to Stockholm, quite a journey. The best journey, with the best companions." "Mom," Min-ho said, emotion thick in his voice. "Thank you for saving me, for being my mom, for showing me what it means to care about people." "Thank you for letting me," Lena replied. "You gave me purpose when I'd lost mine. You gave me a family when I didn't know I needed one. You gave me everything." They stood together, father, mother, son, a family built from tragedy and hope, from loss and love, from a single moment when a waitress looked at a dying baby and refused to accept the impossible. Because that's what Lena had always done, refused to accept the impossible, looked deeper, cared more, saved lives by paying attention when everyone else looked away. And in doing so, she'd saved more than just Min-ho. She'd saved herself, found her purpose, built a life of meaning. "Come on," Myung-jin said, steering them toward the reception. "Let's celebrate. My brilliant wife, the Nobel Prize winner." "Our brilliant mother," Min-ho corrected. "Both," Lena said, squeezing both their hands, "and lucky beyond measure." Because sometimes miracles came disguised as tragedies. Sometimes the worst day of your life led to the best. Sometimes a dying baby brought together two people who needed each other desperately but didn't know it yet. And sometimes, just sometimes, love and medicine and purpose aligned perfectly, creating something more beautiful than anyone could have imagined. A family, a legacy, a lifetime of saving lives because one waitress refused to walk away from a baby who needed her. That was Lena's story. That was their story. And standing in Stockholm, surrounded by accolades and love, Lena knew she'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Because some things were worth fighting for. Some lives were worth saving. And some love stories began in the most unexpected places. In a NICU where hope seemed lost and miracles were just waiting to be discovered. All it took was someone brave enough to look. 25 years after that first day, Min-ho Choi, now Dr. Min-ho Choi, specialized neonatologist, stood in the same NICU where his life had been saved decades ago. A young couple sat before him, their premature daughter fighting for survival, hope fading. "I think I know what's wrong," he said gently, having spotted the same tongue tie his mother had identified in him so many years ago. "It's fixable. Simple. Your daughter's going to be fine. Relief flooded the parents' faces and Minho felt the weight of legacy. His birth mother had given him life. His second mother had saved it. And now he carried both their gifts forward, life and healing, combined. After the procedure, successful and immediate in its results, Minho called his parents. I saved another baby today, tongue-tied just like mine. Lena's voice was warm with pride. You're carrying on the tradition. I'm carrying on your legacy, Mom. Teaching people to look deeper, to care more, to never give up. That's my boy, Myungjin said, now 73, officially retired from all business, but still sharp, still devoted to his family. Come for dinner tonight? Minho asked. I want to celebrate, and I have news. News? Ji-yeon is pregnant. You're going to be grandparents again. Squeals of joy from both parents made Minho grin. His wife, also a doctor, met during residency, was due in 6 months. Their second child, another connection in the chain of life and love his mothers had started. That evening, gathered around the table in the home where Minho had grown up, 3 generations celebrated. Lena and Myungjin, now in their 70s but still deeply in love. Minho and Ji-yeon, building their own family. And the promise of new life continuing the legacy. Tell us again, Minho's daughter, 5 years old, named Yoon. He, after the grandmother she'd never met, demanded. Tell us about the day Grandma Lena saved Daddy's life. Lena smiled, taking Myungjin's hand. Well, it was a long time ago. I was working at a cafe and a very sick baby needed help. She told the story again, as she had countless times. But it never got old. This tale of hope and healing, of love found in unexpected places, of a family built from tragedy and transformed into something beautiful. And when she finished, little Yoon, he said solemnly, when I grow up, I want to save babies too, just like Grandma. Then that's what you'll do, Lena said, pulling the girl into her lap. And we'll help you learn, teach you to pay attention, to look deeper, to care with your whole heart. That's the family business, Myungjin said with a smile. Saving lives, building hope, making miracles. Best business in the world, Minho agreed. And there, surrounded by family and love and the promise of future generations, carrying forward the legacy of healing, Lena felt complete. She'd started as a waitress with abandoned dreams, become a doctor who saved countless lives, found love in the midst of tragedy, built a family that spanned loss and hope and everything in between, all because one day she'd walked into a NICU and refused to accept that a baby was beyond saving. All because she'd looked deeper, cared more, seen what others missed. That single moment had changed everything, created ripples that spread through decades, through generations, through thousands of lives saved by the techniques she'd pioneered. What are you thinking about? Myungjin asked softly as the evening wound down, grandchildren playing, adult children cleaning up. How lucky I am. How one moment of courage led to all this. It wasn't just courage, it was you. Your brilliance, your compassion, your refusal to give up. He kissed her temple. You changed my life, Lena. Saved my son, healed my heart, gave me reasons to be better. You gave me the same, a family, a purpose, love I didn't think was possible. We saved each other. We did. They sat together as the evening stars appeared, and Lena thought about the journey. Every challenge overcome, every life saved, every moment of love and hope and determination. It had all started with a dying baby and a waitress who refused to walk away, who looked deeper, who cared enough to try. And from that single moment, an entire lifetime of miracles had bloomed. I love you, Lena whispered. Thank you for letting me be part of this family, for giving me Minho to love, for building this beautiful life. Thank you for saving us, Myungjin replied. In every way a person can be saved. They sat in perfect contentment, surrounded by the evidence of their love, children and grandchildren, lives saved, legacy built. A family created from the ashes of tragedy, stronger and more beautiful than anyone could have imagined. Because that's what Lena did. Saw potential where others saw only loss. Found hope in darkness. Built miracles from broken pieces. And every baby she saved, every life she touched, was proof that sometimes all it takes is one person refusing to give up, one person caring enough to look deeper, one person brave enough to try. That was Dr. Lena Choi's legacy. That was their love story. And it would continue through generations, each one carrying forward the lesson she taught. Never stop looking. Never stop caring. Never accept that miracles are impossible, because sometimes in the darkest moments, miracles are just waiting to be discovered by someone brave enough to see them.